My family said I ruined their lives and threw me away. Years later they showed up begging me for help, but I shut them out. I'm a 24-year-old woman who grew up as the forgotten child in what I can only describe as a total mess of a family dynamic. I was never the favorite, that was my sister. She was the golden child who could literally mess up the kitchen floor, and my parents would find a way to blame the dog or me. The thing is, my sister was painfully average at everything, like couldn't write an essay without SparkNotes average, and yet somehow, my parents treated her like she was Einstein's daughter. Meanwhile, I was crushing it academically, not trying to brag or anything, but I was that annoying kid who set the curve in every class, perfect SAT score of 20. This was before they changed the scoring system, National Merit Scholar, captain of the robotics team that went to internationals. I was that nerdy girl who actually liked math and stayed up late coding for fun, but at home, total radio silence. This one time, my sister got some meaningless artistic spirit participation trophy from her middle school art teacher, who by the way was her friend's mom, and my parents took her out for a fancy dinner at this steakhouse downtown. They let her order a $50 steak and talked about her creative talent all night. That same week, I won the state math championship. Know what I got? That's nice, honey. Hey, can you help your sister with her algebra homework? She's struggling again. Like, are you kidding me? This wasn't just a one-time thing either, it was constant. When I got accepted to that special summer coding camp at MIT, my dad literally grunted and asked, "But who's going to help your sister study for summer school?" My mom actually had the audacity to suggest I decline MIT so I wouldn't make your sister feel bad about herself. Like, what? Sorry my achievements make your mediocre child feel inferior? Not my problem. I went to that MIT camp anyway, the first time I'd ever stood up to them, and guys, that summer changed everything for me. I met people who actually valued being smart. I connected with mentors who saw my potential. Most importantly, I realized just how messed up my home situation really was. When I got back home, everything looked different. I started seeing all these patterns that had always been there, how my parents would showcase my sister's C+, her improving grade, on the fridge while my straight A+ report card got stuffed in a drawer, how they'd spend thousands on her dance lessons that she'd quit after 3 months, but couldn't afford a $300 programming course I wanted to take. What really pissed me off was that I was basically my sister's unpaid tutor throughout high school. I'd write her papers, create study guides that were basically just answers with extra steps, and sometimes even take her online tests for her. My parents didn't even try to hide that they expected this from me. It was my responsibility as the smart one to help the family. Oh, and get this. I had secretly been getting recruitment emails from tech companies since my junior year. Google, Microsoft, even a hedge fund reached out about their post-college pipeline programs. They'd seen my projects on GitHub and the algorithms I'd published. When I tried to show my parents the Microsoft email, my mom glanced at it and said, "That's nice, but your sister got invited to Heather's pool party this weekend. Isn't that exciting for her?" I swear a Fortune 500 company was trying to recruit me while I was still in high school, and all they cared about was my sister's social calendar. The worst part? I kept trying anyway. I worked my butt off, maintained a perfect GPA, kept quiet when they made their little digs, never fought back. I thought maybe if I achieved enough, they'd finally see me. But nothing changed. There was this one night my junior year that still haunts me. I found my mom crying in the kitchen. I thought someone had died or something. When I asked what was wrong, she sobbed about how my sister hadn't been invited to the popular table at lunch. I stood there, awkwardly patting her back while she cried about my sister's cafeteria seating arrangement. On the same day I'd found out I was valedictorian. I never even told them. What was the point? My dad was no better. He'd spend hours watching my sister's terrible volleyball games. She was always on the bench, cheering like a maniac during her 5 minutes of playing time. But he never once came to a single one of my robotics competitions or coding tournaments. When I asked him why, he said, "That computer stuff is boring. No one wants to watch nerds type on keyboards." Yeah, except those nerds typing on keyboards now make more money than you ever will, Dad. The summer after my MIT program, I started freelancing as a coder. I kept it all secret from my family. Every dollar went into a private bank account they knew nothing about. By my senior year, I had almost $7,000 saved up. I'd also started working on a security tool in my spare time. just a little side project that would eventually change everything. But I'll get to that later. You know what's hilarious? My guidance counselor called my parents for a special meeting to tell them I had a shot at Ivy League schools. My mom's response: "But what about her sister? Will this affect her college chances?" The counselor was so confused. Well, based on your sister's grades and activities, she's on track for community college or maybe a state school with some scholarship help." My parents looked devastated, like someone had told them their dog had cancer. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there thinking, what did you expect? She barely maintains a C average, and her only extracurricular is being a social media influencer with 230 followers. So it all came crashing down the Thursday before graduation. I remember it perfectly because I'd just gotten this insane email about a 6-figure software engineering internship for after graduation, like the kind of offer that makes you stare at your phone, wondering if someone accidentally added an extra digit to the salary. I was in my room, reading this email for the 5th time, trying not to freak out, when I heard the screaming start downstairs. My sister had gotten her final grades and, surprise, surprise, she'd flunked calculus again, her second time taking the class. For context, this meant her GPA had dropped below the minimum requirement for her safety school. Like she literally might not get into college anywhere now. The one class she needed to graduate, and she'd bombed it. Here's the kicker though, I'd been basically doing all her homework for years. Writing her papers, making study guides that were basically just answers with the work shown, sometimes even taking her online tests. I was like her academic life support machine, and my parents fully expected it. But for this final calculus exam, I'd been swamped with my own finals and this massive security project that would eventually become my company. I'd offered to help her study the week before, but she'd blown me off to go to some party with her friends. "It's fine, I've got this," she said while painting her nails and watching TikToks. She did not, in fact, have this. So, I'm upstairs, reading about this life-changing job offer, while World War III is breaking out in our living room. I tried to stay out of it, but eventually, I had to go downstairs for food. Coding makes you hungry. Big mistake. The moment my sister saw me, she went absolutely nuclear. "This is your fault," she screamed, her face all blotchy and contorted. "You were supposed to help me. You knew I needed to pass." I barely had time to process before my dad jumped in. "We asked one thing of you, one thing, to help your sister succeed." My mom, always ready to twist the knife, added, "We'd be better off without you. You've ruined her future." I stood there, with my hand still on the refrigerator door, completely stunned. Let me get this straight. I'd been killing myself with perfect grades and side projects while doing my sister's homework. And somehow, I'm the problem. Because I didn't spoon-feed her calculus answers one time, that was it. Something inside me just snapped. I didn't cry, I didn't scream back. I just nodded and said, "You're right. You would be better off without me, and I'd be better off without all of you." The look on their faces was priceless. They'd expected me to apologize, to grovel, to promise I'd somehow fix my sister's grades. They didn't expect agreement. I turned around, walked to my room, and grabbed my emergency backpack. I'd been low-key preparing for this moment for months without even realizing it. I had all my important documents, birth certificate, social security card, passport, already stored in a waterproof pouch. I grabbed my laptop, external hard drives, and the $6,542 in cash I'd saved from my freelance coding work. As I was packing, my sister stormed into my room. "What are you doing?" she demanded. "Exactly what you all want, leaving, getting out of your life so I stop ruining it." "Don't be so dramatic," she rolled her eyes. "Just fix this, call my teacher or something." The audacity. "Fix this? How, exactly? Am I supposed to fix your failed test with a time machine? Mind control? Blackmail?" "I don't know," she whined. "You're supposed to be the smart one." I just laughed. "Yeah, I am the smart one. Smart enough to know when I'm being used." I zipped up my backpack and brushed past her. My parents were in the hallway, watching with these weird expressions, like they were starting to realize they'd miscalculated. "You're not really leaving," my mom said. Not a question, a statement, like she could control reality with her words. I've officially ruined my last day of your lives." I didn't even look at them as I headed for the front door. "But who's going to help your sister get into college?" my dad actually asked. I swear that was his concern. I turned around one last time, maybe try actually parenting her instead of expecting me to do it for you. And just like that, I walked out. Nobody tried to stop me. Nobody called after me. Nobody texted to see if I was okay. Not that night, not the next day, not ever. It was weirdly anticlimactic, like I'd spent my whole life trying to earn their love and approval, and when I finally gave up, nothing. No grand reaction, just silence. It was the final confirmation that I'd never actually mattered to them. I walked to the bus station and bought a ticket to the city. 3 hours later, I was checking into a cheap hotel near the tech district, using cash so it couldn't be traced. Not that they'd try to find me, they wouldn't, but better safe than sorry. That first night was surreal. The hotel room was small and smelled like cheap cleaning products. But it was quiet. No sister playing music too loud. No parents arguing about her future. Just peace. I ordered a pizza, opened my laptop, and sent an email accepting that job offer. Then I called Josh, one of my mentors from the MIT summer program. I'd kept in touch with him, and he'd been telling me for months that my home situation was toxic. He answered on the second ring. It finally happened, I told him. I left. Are you safe? He asked immediately, the first time anyone had ever prioritized my safety, by the way. Yeah, got a hotel, got money, got my documents. Good, stay there tonight. Tomorrow we'll figure out something more permanent. No questions about whether I was overreacting. No suggestions that I go back and make amends. Just immediate acceptance and support. It was honestly mind-blowing. That night, lying on that lumpy hotel mattress, I felt this weird mix of terror and exhilaration. I was completely on my own at 18. No safety net, no family support, but also no toxicity. Freedom is terrifying when you've never had it before. I checked my phone too many times that first night, some small part of me still hoping they'd call or text, that they'd realize what they'd done and beg me to come back. Nothing. Not a single message. By morning, that last little piece of hope had died, and in its place was something new, determination. If they didn't want me, fine. I didn't need them either. I had my brain, my skills, and now this job offer. I was going to build something so impressive, so successful, that one day they'd realize exactly what they'd thrown away. That day, Josh connected me with Maria, a friend of his who needed a roommate. She had this tiny apartment in the city, with an even tinier spare room that was actually a walk-in closet. I'm not being metaphorical. It was literally a closet with a twin mattress crammed inside, just enough room to lie down with my clothes hanging above my face. Rent was $400 a month, which was still highway robbery for a closet, but beggars can't be choosers when you're basically homeless. Here's where I had an advantage most runaways don't. Marketable skills and contacts. That MIT summer program wasn't just about learning to code, it was about networking. I'd kept in touch with everyone, sent them my projects, asked for feedback. So when I needed help, I had people to call. The job offer I'd gotten was legit, but it wouldn't start for 2 months. I needed income now, so I hustled. Took on freelance coding gigs, fixed websites, debugged apps, whatever paid the bills. Was I qualified? Mostly no. Did I figure it out anyway? Hell yes. Nothing motivates you like knowing homelessness is your alternative. I worked insane hours. My office was either my closet bedroom or the local library. I showered at the gym, cheapest membership I could find, just for bathroom access. I lived on ramen and energy drinks, but you know what? It was still better than living at home. No one was screaming at me. No one was telling me I wasn't good enough. The freedom was worth every struggle. By the time my real job started, I'd saved up enough to move into an actual bedroom in a shared house. 5 roommates, 1 bathroom, but I had a door. Living the dream, folks. The job itself was fine, but after 2 months I realized something. I was bored out of my mind. I had bigger ideas. Remember that security tool I mentioned? The side project I'd been working on before everything blew up? I kept developing it at night. It was a crypto security thing. Pretty niche, but with massive potential. One Friday night, when normal 18-year-olds were out partying, I was at a tech meetup. That's when I met Vikram, a venture capitalist who specialized in cybersecurity startups. We got talking, I showed him my project, and boom, $250,000 in seed funding just like that. I had my own company. I quit my job the same day. My manager was confused as hell. You're leaving to start a company at 19 with no degree? Yep, sure was. The next 2 years were a blur. My security platform took off. Turns out, exchanges really need good security. Shocker. Every crypto hack that made headlines drove more clients my way. Was it stressful? Absolutely. I worked myself half to death, but every milestone felt like a middle finger to my family. By 23, I was running a company valued at 8 figures with 30 employees and offices in 2 cities. I bought a penthouse apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. I drove a matte black Tesla that I paid for in cash, partially for the car, partially for the priceless look on the salesman's face when this random young woman handed over $80,000 like it was nothing. I dated casually, mostly other founders and tech people who understood the lifestyle. Nothing serious because honestly, who has time? Plus, after growing up with my family, I had the emotional availability of a brick wall. Something else to work through in therapy, I guess. The weirdest part of success is how quickly people forget you were ever anything else. Suddenly, I was a born businesswoman. Tech blogs wrote profiles calling me the prodigy reshaping cybersecurity. Nobody saw the terrified teenager who'd once lived in a closet. And my family? Radio silence. No calls on my birthday. No congratulatory messages when my company made headlines. No holiday invitations. Fine by me. Their absence was the cleanest part of my new life. I did some light stalking via social media though. My sister eventually got into some no-name college with a holistic admissions process, aka her grades were too bad for anywhere legitimate. My parents posted proud photos at her orientation, #blessed and all that crap. Meanwhile, I was closing 8-figure deals, but whatever. Sometimes, late at night when I couldn't sleep, I'd stand on my balcony, looking at the city lights, and think about that terrified 18-year-old who walked out with nothing but a backpack and determination. They'd thought I would fail. They'd expected me to come crawling back, begging for forgiveness for abandoning my role as my sister's academic crutch. Instead, I'd built an empire, and I'd done it entirely without them. Revenge success is the best success. Anyone who says otherwise is lying. One day, I was sitting there in my pajamas when my phone buzzed. I almost ignored it because I was in the zone, but then I glanced over and saw the notifications. Mom, 7 missed calls. Dad, 4 missed calls. Sister, 10 missed calls. I literally dropped my coffee mug. Thank God for hardwood floors. After 5 years of absolute silence, 5 years where they never once tried to contact me, they were suddenly blowing up my phone. My first thought was that someone must be dead, maybe a grandparent. But even then, why would they expect me to care? I let the calls go to voicemail, curiosity battling with a sick feeling in my stomach. 10 minutes later, the first message came through from my sister. Please call back. It's important. We need to talk to you. No, hey, how are you? After 5 years of silence. No, sorry, we were such massive jerks to you. Just we need. Classic. 3 more messages followed, each more desperate than the last. I listened to them while pouring myself a cup of coffee, feeling weirdly detached, like I was watching a movie about someone else's dysfunctional family. Message from Mom, sweetie, please call us back. It's urgent. We wouldn't bother you if it wasn't important. Message from Dad, we need to speak with you. Family emergency. Call a sap message from Sister. I know you hate us, but please, please call back. We're desperate. Not one of them mentioned what the actual emergency was, because there wasn't one. At least not the kind they were implying. No one was dying. No one was in the hospital. This was about something else, and I had a pretty good guess what. I decided to pick up the next call, not because I cared, but because I was curious and, honestly, because I wanted them to know exactly how well I was doing without them. The phone rang again, my mother's number. Hello, I said, keeping my voice neutral. Oh, thank God, my mother breathed, like she just found out I was alive after a war or something. We've been trying to reach you for hours. No, how are you? No, it's been years. Straight to the drama as usual. What do you want? I asked coldly. There was a pause, then my mother's voice cracked. We're in trouble. Your sister, she's been trying so hard but she can't find a job. She graduated, but no one will hire her. We've spent everything on her student loans, and now the bank. They're going to take the house. I almost laughed out loud. Of course this was about money. What else would make them remember my existence after 5 years? And, I said, taking another sip of coffee, "And we need help," my mother said, her voice dropping to a whisper. "We know about your company. We saw you in that magazine. Please, just this once. We wouldn't ask if we weren't desperate." I nearly choked on my drink. "So you've been keeping tabs on me. Enough to know I'm successful, but not enough to ever reach out until you needed something." "It's not like that," she protested weakly. "Then what is it like?" I pressed, enjoying her discomfort way more than I probably should have. That's when my father took the phone. "Listen, we made mistakes, but right now, your sister needs help. She's brilliant, but she just needs a foot in the door. If you could just give her a job at your company." I cut him off with a laugh. "A job at my company? The sister who couldn't pass calculus without me doing it for her? The one who's brilliant but somehow can't find employment anywhere? That sister? She's changed," he insisted. "She's worked hard." "No," I said simply. "I don't hire people who failed upward their entire lives. My company's success is built on actually valuing merit." "Novel concept, I know. Please," my mother was back on the phone, sobbing now. "We'll lose everything. We just need a loan until—" "Until what?" I interrupted. "Until you find another sucker to solve your problems? You told me you'd be better off without me, remember? So be better off without me." I hung up, my hand shaking slightly. Not from anxiety or guilt, but from anger mixed with a weird kind of satisfaction. They needed me now, after years of making me feel worthless. They were calling because I was their last hope. The irony was delicious. I blocked their numbers immediately, but they were persistent. Messages kept coming from unknown numbers. Emails flooded my personal account. They even tried reaching out through my company's customer service portal, which was both pathetic and impressively desperate. A part of me wondered if I was being too harsh. Was I becoming just as toxic as them by enjoying their desperation? Maybe. But another part of me, the part that remembered crying myself to sleep after they missed my science fair, the part that remembered being told I was ruining their lives, that part felt nothing but satisfaction. Is that healthy? Probably not, but it was honest. 3 days passed with constant attempts at contact. Then, just when I thought they'd given up, my building's security desk called up to my penthouse. "Miss, there's a family here insisting they're related to you. They don't have an appointment, but they're saying it's an emergency." I felt a chill run down my spine. They'd found out where I lived, tracked me down like stalkers. I briefly considered calling the police but decided to handle it myself. "Don't let them up," I instructed. "Tell them I'll come down." The security guard's voice dropped to a whisper. "The older woman is causing a bit of a scene in the lobby, ma'am, saying she's your mother and has a right to see you." Of course she was. Drama was her specialty. "I'll be right down." I took my time getting ready, deliberately making them wait, just like they'd made me wait countless times as a kid, left at school when everyone else's parents had picked them up, sitting alone at restaurants while they focused on my sister's needs, waiting for acknowledgement that never came. I put on my most expensive outfit, a tailored suit that cost more than my dad's monthly salary. I did my makeup perfectly, put on the diamond earrings I'd bought myself after our Series B funding closed. I wanted them to see exactly what they'd missed out on, their daughter, the success story they'd tried to smother. As the elevator descended to the lobby, I felt oddly calm. The universe had come full circle. 5 years ago, they'd thrown me away. Now they were literally at my doorstep, begging for help. Karma's a beast, and she was about to introduce herself to my family, wearing Louboutins and a $5,000 suit. When the elevator doors opened, I spotted them immediately. They looked smaller somehow, diminished. My father's shoulders were hunched, his hair completely gray now. My mother had aged dramatically, deep wrinkles carved around her mouth and eyes. And my sister, she'd gained weight, her designer clothes, probably bought on credit, straining at the seams. They all looked exhausted, desperate. "Good." I walked toward them slowly, heels clicking against the marble floor like a countdown. Heads turned. My building has a lot of finance and tech people, so everyone's tuned to recognize power moves, and this, make no mistake, was a power move. The recognition dawned on their faces gradually, followed by shock as they took in my appearance. I looked different, confident, expensively dressed, successful, not the scared teenager they'd driven away. "What are you doing here?" I asked coldly, standing a good 10 feet away. Body language 101, maintain distance from threats. My mother rushed forward like she was going to hug me. LOL, no. Please, honey, we just need to talk. Step back, I said sharply. The voice I use when someone tries to waste my time in board meetings. She froze mid-step, hurt flashing across her face. My father put his arm around her shoulders, always the protector of her, never of me. We wouldn't have come if it wasn't serious, he said, his voice rough. We're about to lose everything. The bank gave us 30 days. Your sister can't find work, and our retirement accounts are empty. We just need a loan to get back on our feet. I looked at my sister, who was staring at the floor like it contained the secrets of the universe. Nothing to say? No apology for treating me like your personal academic slave for years? No acknowledgement that you're only here because you need something? She flushed red, then mumbled, I'm sorry, I was awful to you. I know that now. No, you're not sorry for what you did, I corrected her. You're sorry it's come back to bite you. There's a difference. I turned back to my parents. Let me get this straight. You want me, the daughter you discarded, the one you said ruined your lives, to bail you out financially to save the perfect daughter who couldn't succeed even with every advantage? We made mistakes, my mother whispered, tears welling up. Classic manipulation tactic. Terrible mistakes. But please, we're still family. The lobby had gone quiet. The security guards were watching, one with his hand on his radio in case things escalated. I noticed a few residents discreetly pulling out phones. Great, this was about to be lobby gossip for weeks. You're not here because you miss me or because you're sorry, I continued, ice returning to my voice. You're here because you need something. If I were struggling instead of successful, you wouldn't have bothered looking for me. That's not true, my father protested, but his eyes shifted away, typical tell he was lying. Here's what's going to happen, I said coolly. You're going to leave my building. You're never going to contact me again. Not by phone, not by email, not in person. If you do, I'll file for a restraining order. I have the resources to make your lives very difficult if you push me. My sister finally looked up. So you're just going to let us lose everything, after all we did for you? I laughed, an actual genuine laugh of disbelief. All you did for me? Please enlighten me. What exactly did you ever do for me except take and take and take? She had no answer. I turned to leave, then paused. Something compelled me to twist the knife a little deeper. You know what the funny thing is? If you had ever even once been proud of me, if you had acknowledged my successes instead of resenting them, I might have helped you. But you only saw me as useful when I was serving your needs. So now, you can solve your own problems, just like I had to. I walked back to the elevator, not looking back, even as my mother called my name. The security guards stepped forward, blocking their path when they tried to follow me. As the elevator doors closed, I caught one last glimpse of their faces, shocked, devastated, broken, and I felt nothing, just a quiet satisfaction that karma had finally caught up with them. Back in my apartment, I poured myself another drink and sat down on my balcony. I should have felt something. Triumph, vindication, even sadness. But all I felt was emptiness, like I'd finally excised a tumor I'd been carrying for years. My phone buzzed with texts from my mother. Please don't do this. We're desperate. We have nowhere else to turn. Your sister might have to drop out. I blocked the new number without responding. Then the email started. We're about to be evicted. Dad might have to declare bankruptcy. Please, just talk to us. Blocked. Blocked. That night I got a text from an unknown number. My sister this time. They're taking the house next week. Mom's had a breakdown. Dad's talking about living in his car. Is this really what you want? I typed back, what I want is irrelevant. This is what you earned. Actions have consequences. This is yours. Then I blocked that number too. They had their chance, years of chances, to be decent parents, to be a decent sister. They chose differently. Now they were living with those choices. So yeah, it's been 2 years since that confrontation in my building's lobby, and I still think about it sometimes when I'm lying awake at night. Not with regret, more like the way you might remember pulling a rotted tooth. Painful but necessary. The aftermath was messy, as you'd expect. That video of my mother being escorted from my office building made the rounds in certain tech circles. Nothing catastrophic, but enough that my PR team had to draft a bland statement about private family matters and a request for privacy. Several investors called me personally. nervously dancing around the subject of my personal issues potentially affecting the company. Rich people hate drama unless they're the ones causing it. My family didn't go quietly into the night. For about 3 months, they were relentless. They tried contacting my employees through LinkedIn. One particularly desperate move was reaching out to my investors. One actually called me about it, creating possibly the most awkward business call of my career. They sent physical letters to my apartment. They got distant relatives I barely knew to call me. They posted thinly veiled Facebook statuses about ungrateful children that mutual acquaintances would screenshot and send me. I handled it like any other security threat: restraining orders, cease and desist letters from company lawyers, increased security protocols. Eventually, they stopped. The silence was sudden and complete, like someone had flipped a switch. I found out through the grapevine. Okay, fine, I still check their social media occasionally, judge me, that they lost the house. My sister dropped out of college and moved back in with my parents, who now rent a small apartment in a much less fancy neighborhood. My dad found a job at a call center. My mom posts a lot of "everything happens for a reason" inspirational quotes. My sister works retail. Meanwhile, my life continued its upward trajectory. 6 months after I cut them off for good, I finalized the sale of my company for 9 figures. Those acquisition offers I mentioned earlier? I took the best one. The day the deal closed, I bought a house in the mountains, another on a private beach, and set up a foundation to help kids from disadvantaged backgrounds get into tech. The weirdest part? The money didn't make me happy. Don't get me wrong, financial security is amazing, and I'm grateful every day. But there's this emptiness that cash can't fill. My therapist says it's because I built my entire identity around proving my family wrong, and now that I've done that, what's left? So I've been working on that. Finding purpose beyond revenge, building relationships that aren't transactional, learning to trust people. It's hard work. Harder than building a company, if I'm being honest. Recently, I'm dating someone who knows my whole story and respects my boundaries. I'm mentoring young programmers who remind me of myself at 18, brilliant but overlooked. I'm working on new projects that excite me. I'm building a life defined by what I want, not by what I'm running from. For those of you dealing with toxic families, abusive parents, golden child dynamics, I don't have perfect answers. Everyone's situation is different. But I will say this: sometimes walking away is the only healthy choice. Sometimes success really is the best revenge. And sometimes the family you build yourself is worth infinitely more than the one you were born into. Thanks for reading my story, Reddit. It's been real. Peace out.